You do not feel unloved all at once. It happens quietly while you are busy being needed. There was a night Mara stood in her kitchen, holding a cup of tea that had already gone cold. She had made it for someone else like always. The house was silent, not peaceful, just empty. She stood there longer than she should have, waiting. Not for anything specific, just waiting. That was the first strange feeling. Not pain, not anger, just a question she had never asked before. If I stopped giving, would anyone still come back? She pushed the thought away. Because people needed her, and being needed had always felt like love. Mara lived in a small village where nothing stayed hidden for long. Everyone knew who needed help, and everyone knew Mara would show up. If someone's roof leaked, she was already there with tools before they asked. If a child was sick, she stayed overnight so the parents could rest. If someone had no food, Mara shared hers without counting. People said she had a gift. They said she was kind in a way most people weren't. But what they really meant was simple. Mara never said no. And somewhere along the way, she began to believe that was who she was. Not a person with needs, not a woman with limits, just someone who filled empty spaces in other people's lives. And she wore that role like something she had earned. Her husband Edric was a quiet man. When life was good, he was warm. He laughed, he spoke, he noticed her. But when life became heavy, he disappeared without leaving. He sat by the fire, silent, distant, not cruel, just gone in a way that was hard to explain. Mara filled that silence. She brought him tea. She spoke gently. She waited for him to come back to himself. And eventually, he always did. So she told herself, this was love. She believed love meant holding someone through their darkness, even if no one held you through yours. She never asked why. She was always the one carrying. Because she had learned something long ago. If you are strong enough, people lean on you. Her closest friend Sela had a different kind of need. Sela came with stories, heavy ones, arguments, regrets, mistakes she could not undo. Every time life overwhelmed her, she came straight to Mara. She talked, and Mara listened for hours. Sela would leave lighter, laughing again, breathing again, and Mara would sit in the same chair after the door closed, feeling something she could not quite name. Not resentment, just wait. There were a few times Mara tried to speak about herself, but the moment she did, the air changed. Sela grew quiet, uncomfortable, so Mara stopped trying. Because being the one who listens felt better than being the one no one listens to. Then there was Doran, 17, restless, lost in the way young people often are. Mara gave him small jobs in her garden. She listened to his dreams. She lent him money when he needed it. He called her the closest thing to a mother he had ever known. Those words stayed with her. They filled something inside her that had been empty for a long time. So she gave more time, more energy, more patience. She told herself she expected nothing back. But late at night, when the house was quiet, there was a small voice inside her that wondered, will he ever show up for me? She ignored that voice too, because giving felt safer than asking. Slowly, almost invisibly, Mara disappeared from her own life. Her garden, once full of color, began to dry. She noticed it once while passing by. Dead leaves, cracked soil. She stood there for a moment, thinking she should fix it. Then someone called her name from the road, and she went. That became the pattern. Her life was always interrupted by someone else's need, and she always chose them. She slept less. She ate later. She stopped noticing small things, like the way silence in her own home felt heavier each night, like the way no one ever asked if she was tired. She told herself it was temporary, that one day it would come back to her. It always does, right? Then one autumn morning, her body made the decision she never did. Mara could not get out of bed. It was not dramatic, just enough to stop her. A quiet kind of weakness. She sent word to the people she had helped. Simple message, I am not well. Then she waited. At first she felt calm, because she had spent years showing up for others. Of course they would come. Of course someone would knock on her door. She did not expect many. Just someone. Edric stayed home, but not in the way she imagined. He did what needed to be done. Cooked, cleaned, carried wood. But there was something off. A quiet tension in the way he moved. After a few days, he began saying things. Not complaints, just observations. There is a lot to do. I'm trying my best. He was not unkind, but he made something clear, without saying it directly. This was not his role. Taking care of others was hers, and now that she could not do it, something in the house felt wrong. Not broken, just misplaced. Scylla came once. On the third day, she brought a small cake. She sat down beside the bed and started talking about her husband, about a fight, about something she could not solve. Mara listened. Even lying there weak, she listened. Old habits do not disappear overnight. When Scylla finished, she stood up, squeezed Mara's hand, and said, "You'll be better soon. You always are." Then she left. Mara stared at the door long after it closed. Something inside her shifted. Not sharply, just enough. Dora never came. Not once. Days passed. Mara checked the door every time she heard a sound. Footsteps outside. Voices in the distance. Nothing was for her. That was the moment the silence became something else. Not empty, cold. She began replaying memories. The roof she helped fix. The meals she cooked. The nights she stayed awake for others. And then, one question came back. Clearer this time. When I have nothing to give, who is here? She thought about each person carefully. The neighbor who had not visited. The old man who stopped coming once he recovered. Scylla who never stayed long enough to hear her. Doran who called her family but never showed up like one. Even Edric who cared, but only within limits he never had to question. It was not anger. That would have been easier. It was something quieter, a kind of clarity that does not argue. It simply shows. And for the first time, Mara stopped defending them in her mind. She stopped explaining their behavior. She stopped making excuses. On the 14th day, she sat up slowly. The room was still. No one was there. No footsteps. No voices. No one calling her name. Just her. That was the moment. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just undeniable. She understood something she had avoided for years. She had not been loved. She had been useful. And those two things were not the same. Being loved means someone sees you even when you have nothing left to give. Being useful means they only see you when you are giving. She stood up that morning and walked outside to her garden. The soil was dry. The plants were gone. For a moment, she felt something close to grief. Not for the garden, for herself. Then she knelt down and began pulling weeds, turning soil, touching something that was hers. No one called her name. No one interrupted. And for the first time, in a long time, she did not rush. The next time Scylla came, everything felt different. Same door, same voice, same urgency. But Mara did not move the same way. She poured 2 cups of tea, sat down, and spoke first. I want to tell you something. Her voice was calm, not defensive, not accusing, just honest. Scylla did not know what to do at first, because Mara had never done this before. But she listened, and something new entered the room. Not comfort, not dependence, something more balanced. Edric noticed the change too. Mara stopped filling silence, stopped anticipating every need, stopped stepping in before he could feel responsibility. At first, he was uncomfortable, then curious, then something else. He began asking questions, small ones. How are you today? What do you want? It was awkward, but real. For the first time, he was not just being cared for. He was present. Months later, Doran returned. Different, quieter. He stood at the door without a request. That alone said everything. "I should have come," he said. Mara looked at him for a long moment. Then she answered honestly, "I noticed." She did not pretend it was fine. She did not make it easy. But she did not close the door either. "You are old enough now," she said. "People who care show up." And for the first time, he understood something deeper than kindness. He understood responsibility. Mara did not stop helping people. She just stopped doing it from emptiness. She learned something simple. The people who love you are not the ones who need you the most. They are the ones who stay when you have nothing to give. If you are always the one who gives, ask yourself one question. When you disappeared for a moment, who noticed? You are not here to fill every gap in the world. You are a person. And the moment you start living like one, you will see everything more clearly. Not with anger, just with truth. And that is where real love begins.